Hello and welcome to Over There Living History. I'm Matthew, and today we'll be going over the US phonetic alphabet as used during the Second World War. You know, what it's for and what it consists of, and how you can remember it. So and how you can remember it so you don't forget it, and you can actually begin to learn it, and as a result, use it to become more effective at living history displays and just become more accurate. So let's begin. So for starters, what is the phonetic alphabet? Well, the phonetic alphabet is essentially a regular alphabet, except every letter is replaced by a word beginning with the letter. For example, instead of A, B, C and D, A, B, C and D are replaced with Abel, Baker, Charlie and Dog. And basically so forth and so on. So what is an example of the phonetic alphabet being useful? Well it's probably this sort of example is quite good. So, you are a friendly force there. You're calling in for artillery on the bad guys. They are a designated point B. However, in the same area, there is an adjacent unit, or friendlies, or civilians, in point D. Point B and point D. Point B and D, now B and D over the radio have that E syllable. They both sound very similar. As a result, they can both get misinterpreted as one another. So you're calling in artillery on point B, but they hear it as point D. Oh dear. You have just killed everyone there, and they are fine, so they are now in the position to attack you because your artillery didn't kill them. You've instead killed your adjacent unit, which or civilians, which as a result obviously is quite, but that's not really how we do things over here. So let's fix this. So we've now fixed this up. So now, instead of it being point B, it is now point Baker. Baker over the radio is Baker, right? Baker is not going to get confused with dog because they both sound very different. You know, it's more specific sounding over the radio, and they can tell what you mean, right? When you say position Baker, they know it's position Baker. Baker is a lot easier and a lot more clear than B or D or C or any of these other things. So we now have point Baker and point dog. So that means, for example, that when you go over the radio and you say, I want artillery on point Baker, they know exactly what you mean. So your artillery will go there. As a result, artillery goes where it needs to be. So that's just one example of why your phonetic alphabet will be very important. Phonetic alphabet is also used with designations, such as with companies. So with companies, you'll have Able Company, Baker Company, the famous Easy Company. Those examples. It's designations, but the real purpose of it is just over the radio. It's clearer, and everyone knows what you're talking about. So let's get on to the contents of what the US one was in World War II. So for start, A is for Able, B is for Baker, C is for Charlie, and D is for Dog. E is for Easy, F is for Fox, G is George, H is How, I is for Item, J is for Jig, J-I-G, K is for King, L is Love, M is Mike, N is Nan, N-A-N, O is Oboe, as in the instrument, P is Peter, as in the name, Q is Queen, R is Roger, S is Sugar, and T is Tear. Tear is T-A-R-E. U is Uncle, V is Victor, W is William, X is X-ray. Y is for yoke, and Z or Z is for zebra, as in the animal. Now another thing that you'll use when you're using radio traffic would be numbers. Now numbers, there are two numbers that can get quite confused. Now, I started with number, right? Right, so let's say that you're transmitting 29. You don't say 29, you always say 2-9er. 2-9er, or say you're saying grid reference 28. If you're giving a full-figure grid reference, it will always be grid reference 28. You always say them you always say the numerals. You always say the numerals apart from each other. So it's separately. So it's 2 8 4 6 3 2 2 9er. And also another thing is with 0, it's never 0 or O. It's always 0. 0 is 0. 9 is niner, because 9 can get confused again with some others. You know, same principle as applied with the phonetic alphabet. It's just niner, 0, 0, niner. So I know what you're thinking. That is a lot to remember, and it is. But a way that I employ myself, to remember all this, is that whenever you're walking across the street, or you're in a city or you're in the street, and you can see loads and loads of cars, and all cars have number plates or license plates on them. So what I do is I look at the number plate or the license plate, and I'll go, okay, that in the phonetic alphabet that would be tear, 6, uncle, 7, love, 8, yoke, and you do the same with all of them, and you basically want to just be able to recite. And you basically just want to, and you basically want to get to the point where you can look at a number plate or a license plate and just immediately go, okay, 6, 2, nan, 8, 4, oboe, and you can recognise them as what they would be in the phonetic alphabet instantly, and that's the stage you want to get to. Takes a bit of practice, but really, if you're going to be the radio operator for your living history group, that really is the standard that you should be at, and it just looks better for the public, and it means that your group is a bit more functional, and you can actually perform some good tasks for if you want to do that. It just makes the group a little bit more realistic and a bit better, improves authenticity and immersion. So that's all for this episode of Over Their Living History. I'll be back with some more, and until next time, Scouts out.